college football's most powerful head coach for a long time was Nick Saban, obviously. But he retired. I don't know if you caught that a couple of years ago. Broken first by Chris Lowe, by the way. And so now we ask ourselves, well, who is the most powerful head coach in college football? Now, two things. Firstly, I'm not sure the answer is clear. But secondly, I want to tell you what my personal criteria is/are when I'm thinking power. I don't just mean winning percentage. For the most powerful head coach in college football, I do care that you're a winner, so you have to have won a lot. Because you can say the greatest things in the world, but if you're a loser, nobody really cares. So you have to be a winner. You have to have a certain level of respect, both amongst your peers and across the entire just college football ecosystem. I think your voice has to carry a lot of weight, so when you talk, other people pay attention. And I think you have to have the ability to move the needle beyond just strictly the nucleus of college football coaches and players and fans. When you talk, people who otherwise wouldn't take notice even take notice. And so with that in mind, I think we've got a number one. I don't know that it's clear, but I asked this question earlier today of you, and most of you answered the same way I would answer. Kirby Smart's the most powerful head coach in college football right now because he's won, and he's won for a long time. And I want to remind you, he left Alabama, where he was Saban's defensive coordinator, and then he went over to Georgia, and he proceeded to build as close of a replica to what Saban had built in Tuscaloosa as anyone did. Now, he still had trouble getting over that Alabama hump, that Nick Saban hump, but so did pretty much everyone else this side of Dabo Swinney. But he went over there and he did what many people in the profession thought couldn't be done. And he built something, he built a model, he built a program that most closely resembled Alabama. They played to the same level of standard. They operated very similarly. They recruited very similarly. There was a tenacity. There was a vibe that the program gave off and still gives off, the likes of which hardly any other program in America, again, that side of Nick Saban's Alabama, had given off. But also, you'll notice when Kirby Smart talks, I wish he'd do it a little bit more, but when he talks about the sort of existential, bigger picture issues facing college football, people listen. He's got near universal respect amongst his peers. Everybody measures themselves to Georgia and Ohio State right now. That's why Kirby Smart would be number one for me. And then number two, if I'm even ranking them in order, would be Ryan Day. And Ryan Day, I think the needle probably moves a little bit more because now he's won himself a national championship. But Ryan Day, the thing about him is I always noticed there was like a little detachment between how fans who were not Ohio State fans talked about Ryan Day versus how people in the industry, coaches, talked about him. Because I can't tell you how many dozen times on this show I've had a question from a fan, or we've had like an interaction where there's a Michigan fan or a Penn State fan, or I don't care, South Dakota State for all I care, but there were fans that were shortchanging Ryan Day. The old born on third base thinking he hit a triple sort of thing. Anyone could win if they were given those resources and that job. That permeated the college football sphere for quite a while. And so while maybe fans would shortchange him, anytime we'd do that kind of segment, inevitably, I would get texts from coaches, in some cases in the Big Ten, who would say, anyone who questions that guy's crazy. So coaches already respected him. I really rarely ever, aside from, let me cut in really quick and ask, look, prayer hands, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you think you're subscribed, check and make sure. Over 50% of you aren't. It's free, it doesn't sign you up for anything, and it helps us keep the show free, college football year-round, the way God intended it. All right, back to the clip. Jealous exceptions. I rarely ever had anyone speak ill of Ryan Day. Well, now fans won't either. I guess some still will. But those are people who are probably not going to change their minds even if he rattles off 5 titles in a row. But did you notice when we were up there last week and we had the conversation with him, which is on our channel right now, did you notice he said, the only thing that's changed about me is I'm going to get benefit of the doubt now. And he's right about that. He's right in a couple of different ways. Number one, there's benefit of the doubt that a national championship winner always gets. You make a questionable decision. well, once you've won a national title, it all makes sense. All the questionable decisions make sense. Whereas if you fail, you roll the dice and you fail, but you hadn't won a title, then you're just a poser. So winning a title does grant you a benefit of the doubt, but also what it does, and he really wasn't saying it like this, but I believe it's also true, is it grants you the freedom to speak more openly and authoritatively because you're kind of a made man in college football terms. You're kind of a made man. And if you don't know the difference in how a person sounds once they fit that description, go listen to Ryan Day's sit down with us last week. I mean, he was as open and as, in some cases, just brutally honest as I had heard him. And I don't think it's any coincidence that that comes after he's won a national title. His perspective is also a very important one, as is Kirby's. They are the head coaches at two of the alpha programs in college football. College football is amidst a lot of uncertainty right now. It's important they speak up. They're really smart guys. It's important they speak up. Dabo Swinney absolutely belongs on this list. Remember, Dabo Swinney, it's been such a long time now. Dabo's been a head coach for a long time. So he's going on like a decade and a half plus as the head coach at Clemson. But remember, he has been a head coach long enough where he was able to exist right in the middle of that peak Saban Alabama dynasty. But he also went head to head with it and came out on top a couple of times. He was the only one to do that. And he's still around now. And Saban's Alabama has become DeBoer's Alabama. But also, as there's been transition at Alabama, there's been transition at Clemson, only not in the head coach's chair. The head coach's chair has remained constant, and the entire world around that head coach and that program have evolved, and Dabo Swinney has remained totally, unapologetically attached to his principles and his values. And it's been a really big talking point for a number of years in the sport. I've spoken about it on this show. I have maintained the opinion, which I do up until this very moment, that you can't talk about it in 2 minutes. Well, at least I can't share my opinion on Dabo and Clemson in 2 minutes because I think it's very layered. There's also a personal opinion versus an understanding of maybe why someone does it another way. There's also the possibility that you're wrong and they're right, or they're right and you're wrong. All that notwithstanding, whenever he talks, you listen. Whenever you hear, did you hear what Dabo said? You make it a point to go find what he said. Well, that's moving the needle. And I'll tell you this, also because of what his principles and values are, what they're rooted in, and how consistently he's been vocal about them, he moves the needle beyond the boundaries of college football, which is a good thing. But that also means his voice carries a lot of weight inside and outside the walls of college football, which makes you a very powerful voice. You know who else I have on this list? This one will probably spike the comment section a little bit, but I'm right on this. Deion Sanders is one of the most powerful head coaches in college football. And if you don't think Deion Sanders is one of the most powerful head coaches in college football, I'd simply ask, what is your criteria? Because I stated mine. So I think you got to be a winner. And while he's not done what Kirby or Ryan Day have done, he's not going to do that because he's not at Ohio State or Georgia. But he did turn Colorado around virtually overnight. They won 9 games last year. It's a really big deal. But also, if you're talking about voices carrying weight, who makes people shut up and listen more in this sport from a head coach's perspective than Deion Sanders right now? And by 10 miles, who out of the head coaching voices moves the needle beyond college football more right now than Deion Sanders? So those are the things I care about. That's how I define a powerful head coach. Deion Sanders is able to pull the kind of levers that even Kirby or Ryan Day couldn't, because his voice and his name means a lot more for different reasons than Kirby or Ryan Day or Dabo. Now, Kirby and Dabo and Ryan Day have done things Deion hadn't done and may never do as a head coach. But he's done things far beyond just being a head coach that they'll never do. So Deion Sanders absolutely belongs on this list. And I had a tough 3-way battle for the 5th one, but I think Steve Sarkeesian is one of the most powerful head coaches in college football. You could have gone James Franklin here. You could go Kalen DeBoer here, but I went with Sark because he's resurrected Texas football. He has reestablished Texas football, which at its best, is maybe the most powerful brand in the sport, back to what it should be. Now, they haven't won a title under him yet, but they're going to be in the hunt for one every year. He's built a talent acquisition mechanism out there that is second to none. They have totally redefined what talent acquisition can be. In other words, he's the head coach at Texas in the middle of an era that is custom built for Texas to thrive, and they're thriving. But there's still a little upward mobility. There's still a little room. There's another floor they could move into above and beyond the one they're living in right now. They in some ways haven't even made their loudest noise that they could make there yet. But make no mistake, Sark, been respected for a long time as an offensive mind. But if you've watched, what he's done at Texas, they're not winning games 52-48. They have long since established themselves as a place that can recruit and develop line of scrimmage. And if they can't immediately, then it's an attractive destination for portal guys to go to. Quarterback is never going to be that big of a question there. It's an assembly line of talent. So that makes them a winning program that'll probably sustain there. But also, I think Sark's pretty wise beyond his years. I won't say beyond his years. He's been around a while. But when he talks, people listen too. And he's got a really, really unique perspective. Because Kirby, he's only been at Georgia. Ryan Day has only been at Ohio State. Dabo's only been at Clemson. Deion, Jackson State, Colorado, and still very new as a head coach. Sark's been all over the place. Man, Sark's career has been a ping pong ball for great reasons, for terrible reasons, but because of that, he's got a really unique perspective on things. And if you've ever listened to him, not at a press conference, for an extended sit-down conversation, who knows? Maybe we'll have one with him very soon. Maybe really, really soon. But if you'll just listen to him in long form, really insightful, really cerebral, and a really big picture thinker. So those are the names I came up with. Now, I looked when I put out this tweet earlier today, because I asked you guys, as I often do when I know I'm going to talk about something like this that's subjective on the show, who would you go with? Two things I'll say. One, way too many of you said Jordan Hudson. You know who you are. And then secondly, I saw some names that are winners. Like Kirk Ferentz has won at Iowa for a long time. I don't know if he moves the needle when he talks. He's got respect amongst his peers. He's got that. I just mean, your grandma knows who Deion Sanders is, even if she doesn't watch college football. All right, and anyone who's even just a casual observer of college football, they know Dabo, they know Sark, they know Ryan Day, they know Kirby Smart. There are other names. I got a ton of respect for them. There are other names. Kyle Whittingham at Utah is another one. But partly because of the programs they've been at, which I supremely respect because they're loyal, but part of that loyalty has also coincided with maybe not being the biggest needle mover when you talk. That's okay. I don't think those guys got into the profession to be, listed on one of these, aggregation type lists as most powerful. If it happens, it happens. But just an FYI, I saw a lot of you respond with those names. Those are the reasons why I couldn't or didn't include those names. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see a Kalen DeBoer. If he wins this year, he's the head coach at Alabama, just like Sark's the head coach at Texas. Doesn't take a whole lot for those guys to get right in the mix there.